The ocean has always been a frontier of mystery, but tonight, the Chimera moves with the cold confidence of a predator seeking its final prize. Inside this floating fortress, technology has replaced intuition, turning the chaotic depths of the sea into a calculated grid of data points and heat signatures. We believed ourselves to be the ultimate apex predators of this world, masters of technology that turns every hidden mystery into a conquerable treasure map. At first, it was just a ghost in the machine, a minor fluctuation in the sonar data that we dismissed as a simple error in processing. Our weapons were designed for gods, capable of piercing the thickest hides and neutralizing the most legendary monsters hidden within the crushing depths below us. Captain Elias saw not a creature, but a legacy. On a singular target so massive it would rewrite history and cement his name among the great explorers. His ambition was a blinding light, obscuring the dangers that lurk when men attempt to claim dominion over things that have existed long before humanity began. The scout was deployed, a silent mechanical eye sent to peek behind the curtain of the abyss, unaware that it was being watched from the shadows. In the crushing pressure of the midnight zone, the light of our civilization is nothing more than a flickering candle in a world of eternal night. Something moved just beyond the reach of the beams, a presence so gargantuan it seemed to shift the very currents of the deep ocean floor itself. Above, the Chimera waited, its engines humming a song of arrogance. Oblivious to the fact that the hunter was about to become the primary target, the drone entered the abyss, navigating through the skeletal remains of a mountain range that has never seen the warmth of the sun in millennia. The seafloor is a graveyard of those who thought they could master the waves, their rusted hulls serving as silent warnings to the bold and foolish. Even with the best cooling systems money could buy, the atmosphere on the bridge grew heavy with a heat that came from raw, mounting primal tension. The signal began to fray at the edges as if the water itself was trying to erase the presence of our prying, artificial electronic eyes today. A shadow passed through the light, a glimpse of prehistoric power that defied every classification in our biological databases and left us breathless and afraid. The pings came faster now, a mechanical heartbeat racing in sync with the rising panic of the men who realized they were no longer alone. The target was not just a beast, it was a force of nature, it moving with a speed that shouldn't be possible for a creature of that size. Elias refused to retreat, his pride anchored to the deck, even as the instruments screamed that we were walking into a trap of our making. The target was not alone. It was the center of a constellation of living lights, a swarm that stretched as far as the sensors could reach. Warning lights flashed amber as the sensors detected a massive displacement of water, something rising from the depths with the intent to shatter the surface. The ocean went silent, a deceptive peace that always precedes a storm, as the entity below prepared to introduce itself to the world above us. When the engines died, the silence was louder than any roar, a heavy blanket of dread that smothered the breath of every sailor on board. Men stood with weapons in hand, realizing that their steel and lead were pitifully small against the vast, soul-crushing reality of the deep sea's hidden army. We projected our power into the dark, but the abyss merely drank the light, leaving us blind in a world where we thought we saw everything. The single target vanished, replaced by a cloud of signals that jammed our systems, turning our most advanced technology into expensive, useless piles of junk. When our technology failed, we were left with nothing but our oldest instinct, fear, the raw realization that we were no longer the hunters here. The scout was silenced in an instant, its mechanical life snuffed out by a power that viewed our intrusion as a minor, easily crushed annoyance today. The static was the last thing we saw, a digital shroud marking the end of our vision and the beginning of a nightmare we couldn't escape. A sound that was felt rather than heard vibrated through the hull. A low-frequency growl that spoke of ancient hungers and long-forgotten territorial wars below. The ship began to groan, the very steel of the Chimera protesting as something massive brushed against its side with the weight of a mountain. In the reflection of our own spotlights, we finally saw the truth. The hunter wasn't missing. It was right beneath us, watching and waiting patiently. The surface broke not once, but 1,000 times, as the sea itself seemed to come alive with the movement of a coordinated biological military. Our calls for help were answered only by the clicking of 1,000 maws, a language of predation that needed no translation to be understood.
Reroute
In the
all
red
power
glow
to
of
the
our failing
forward
systems,
shields.
It's
we
useless,
looked like
Captain.
ghosts already,
We're taking heavy
haunted by the
damage.
realization that we had walked into a trap of hubris.
impossible.
The radar
They've
revealed a
completely
horrific
surrounded
symmetry.
the ship,
We weren't
and
just
they're
being
accelerating.
hunted. We were being harvested by a legion that moved with perfect, terrifying military precision. Thermal imaging showed a sea of fire beneath us. Thousands of living engines of destruction converging on the cold, dead metal of our lonely ship. The Alpha rose, a majestic and terrifying monument to evolution, its bioluminescence casting a sickly, beautiful glow across the terrified faces of the lonely crew. Then came the foot soldiers, an endless tide of scales and teeth that treated our steel walls as if they were nothing more than coral. The Alpha didn't attack immediately. It simply observed us with a cold, terrifying intelligence that suggested it understood our fear perfectly. The ship began to tilt, the weight of 1,000 hungers pulling us down toward the dark, cold embrace of the home we had tried to exploit. The sound of rending metal filled the air. Yes, a mechanical scream that matched the cries of the men who finally understood the scale of their error. From above, it must have looked like a star falling into the sea, a brilliant, dying light surrounded by the swirling shadows of the deep's true masters. With one blow, our connection to the world was severed, leaving us alone in the dark with the things we had dared to call targets. In the absolute darkness, only the eyes remained, thousands of glowing witnesses to the end of a hunt that had been horribly, beautifully walked. The onslaught was a masterclass in efficiency, a coordinated strike that rendered our sophisticated defense systems as useless as toys in a hurricane's path. Red light washed over the carnage, a brief, flickering glimpse of the war we were losing before the shadows returned to claim the space again. Every snap of a jaw was a reminder that in this world, while life is defined by the strength to take and the speed to kill effortlessly,
keep moving forward.
We fought
Don't
with the
stop.
desperation of the damned, our modern weapons flickering against the timeless biological perfection of the ocean's most successful and ancient warriors. A command was issued in a frequency we could only feel in our bones, a signal for the final act of this underwater tragedy to begin. The Chimera took its first drink of the sea, the weight of the swarm finally overcoming the buoyancy of our pride and our heavy steel. Water claimed the hallways, turning our corridors into hunting grounds where the creatures were faster, stronger, and much more at home than we ever were. The Alpha embraced the ship like a lover of death, its massive coils crushing the hull until the very skeleton of the vessel began to snap. Elias stood his ground, captain of the sinking world, watching as the barrier between his civilization and the wild abyss crumbled. The ocean entered, cold and indifferent, washing away the dreams of conquest and the technology of man in a single, overwhelming, and final wave. As we descended, the lights of the Chimera flickered like dying neurons, a final mechanical gasp before being swallowed by the eternal silence of the abyss. The Alpha withdrew, its task complete, its bioluminescence fading into a peaceful, ghostly blue that blended perfectly with the vast, uncaring darkness of the deep. The tools of our arrogance became nothing more than debris, drifting down to join the bones of previous hunters who dared to underestimate the ocean's power. The trench opened its mouth to receive the offering, the final resting place for a ship that was supposed to be the pinnacle of human achievement. In the eye of the beast, there was no malice. Only the calm clarity of a world that has no room for those who do not respect it. The army vanished as quickly as it had appeared, melting back into the shadows of the trenches, waiting for the next intruder to stumble into their world. The map we tried to draw was irrelevant here. The only borders that matter are the ones written in the language of predator and prey below. Nature reclaimed the steel, the ocean's slow, crushing weight pressing the memory of our presence into the very foundation of the Earth's dark floor. Life goes on in the deep, indifferent to the rise and fall of empires, a silent cycle of survival that has no need for human stories. When the sun rose, the sea was a mirror of peace, hiding the carnage of the night beneath a surface of deceptive and beautiful blue tranquility. The only evidence of our pride was a piece of plastic, a floating tombstone that the waves would soon carry to the ends of the earth. But below the surface, the truth remains, a lesson written in the cold and the dark for anyone brave enough to go looking for it. The clicking has started again, a heartbeat of the abyss that reminds us that the ocean never truly sleeps, and it never truly forgets an enemy. Every shadow in the water is a potential threat, every ripple a sign that the balance of power is far more fragile than we believe. We are but visitors in a kingdom that does not recognize our authority, a vast empire of water that has its own ancient, brutal laws. The ocean keeps its secrets well, burying the evidence of our failures in the crushing pressure and the absolute unforgiving darkness of the deep sea. Remember that the next time you look at the horizon, you are not looking at a resource, you are looking at a sleeping giant's home. In the end, the title of hunter is a temporary luxury, a mask we wear until the true owner of the darkness decides to take it back. The deep is watching, waiting for the next ship to believe that technology is a substitute for respect in the face of the ancient world. The ocean does not keep records, it only keeps lessons that the living will never have the chance to tell the world above.